There I was on a classic LSD bummer. Went over to a friend's house. She said, "Would you like to hear the new Beatles album, Rubber Soul?" And I said, "No, I don't want to hear the Mop Top Fab Teens. No, Fab Gear. No, I don't want to hear that. I'm in an existential crisis." And she said, "I think you'll like this. Take a look at the album." And I looked at the album cover and realized, my God, they were stoners. You could see it in their eyes, and they're all looking down at me. And then there's a song on the album called "I'm Looking Through You." Did it mellow out your trip? No.
In February 1966, a new musical called A Smashing Day opened in London's New Arts Theatre. It was produced and directed by Beatles manager Brian Epstein. The music for the show was written and performed by a young singer-songwriter who was also an actor with the Royal Shakespeare Repertory Company.
I had a guitar. I composed the songs and the lyrics, and Robert Powell, lovely actor, was on the mouth organ. So there was a guitar and a mouth organ, and the musical narrator would link the scene changes or link the changes of dynamic or mood in this young man's life. It's a very 60s piece. So I became involved as the musical narrator.
So did you have musical experience at that time as well as your theatrical background?
Yes, from about 1965 or 6 onwards, I was writing my own songs. My own very simple, very Bob Dylan Beatles derived, unashamedly derived songs, and having them broadcast on the BBC, which was thrilling, I have to say.
So it's opening night. Did you think because Brian Epstein was the producer of the show that perhaps the Beatles may be there in the audience?
Well, fortunately, I was not aware that they were in the audience. I think it would have been paralyzing for me. The Beatles were my contemporaries, and we worshipped them when I was a young actor in rep. Brian introduced me to them afterwards. I met them actually in this building. The Arts Theatre, where I'm sitting now, it was there, right there. See, there's a row of red seats, and then there's a chair. It was there, right there where I met John and Ringo, and they were very generous to me. So I remember Ringo saying, "Yeah, it was great, yeah, it was great, yeah, it was great, yeah." And John saying, "You know, you did the best you could with guitar and mouth organ." And I thought, that's wonderful. What a eulogy, what praise. You did the best you could with guitar and mouth organ, wow. So that's, you know, engraved in my heart.
When I was about 12, George, he lived quite away from me, but he used to be there after school and carry my satchel home for me and things like that. And he had a guitar he used to play, and he could only play one song, and it was "Those Wedding Bells Are Breaking Up That Old Gang of Mine," and he used to sit on the arm of the couch and play this song. And he was really into me, or so I thought, but I think the main reason he was because he was trying to get in my brother's group. But my brother was saying, "Sorry, son, you're a bit young, you know, come back in a few years' time when you can play a bit more." My brother opened a skiffle cellar called the Morgue, where he let me go and work in the cloakroom, where George would help me. And going to the morgue this night, you know, it was the first night, and I was so excited. And I got the eye blue on and the lipstick and the cotton down my bra, and off I went. It was on the cloakroom. The very first night it opened, we had a group on called, I think it was called Long John and the Silver Beatles then. George was nothing to do with it. The show went on at the end of it, and my brother got on the mic and he thanked everybody for coming, and this is the first night, and thanks this and thanks that. And thanks to our Iris at the back in the cloakroom, because she's done so well, and she's got raw cotton down her bra. That was the worst thing in the world that could have happened, and I just ran out of the place, ran down Oakle Park like in absolute hysterics, and I could hear these footsteps behind me. And I was running full speed, and all of a sudden they caught up with me, turned me round, and it was George, and that was our first kiss. And nobody has ever, that was the best kiss ever in my life. And to this day, I remember that feeling in my tummy. Nobody ever kissed me like that. It was beautiful.
Victor Spinetti is a renowned Welsh comic actor who rose to international prominence when he appeared in all three Beatles movies in the 1960s: A Hard Day's Night, Help, and Magical Mystery Tour.
This was in Marrakesh, Morocco. And John said, it'll be great, Vic. Nobody'll know who I am. And women went by in the ashmaks and as they went by, they went, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Couldn't go anywhere.
They actually?
They did that. Showed their faces, didn't care. They wanted to shout, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those women knew of the Beatles? Enough?
Everyone did. Young urchins in the street come up and kiss his hand and say in perfect French, Bienvenue à notre pays, Monsieur Lennon. John was the one I saw the most of. I said to him, do you have a drawer full of songs, when you've gone, will be discovered? He said, no. I just ring up Paul and say, hey, Paul, I think it's time we got together to write another hit, and we get together and write one. He went, sniff what was in the air, what was the thought. A real artist.
Hello?
Hi. Thank you, Miss Johnson, so much for taking the time.
My pleasure. I'm delighted to. How can I be of help?
I wanted to ask you, when you moved into the White House, the Beatles were just starting to become a big phenomenon. And I wondered, as, you were but 16 years old, were you into them?
Yes, absolutely. The way my father entered the presidency was agonizing for everyone involved, but especially for our family. And after November 22nd took place, all our country was just peppered with pain. It wasn't long after that the Beatles were coming to America. And so it occurred to me that maybe being the daughter of the President of the United States, I might be able to have every adolescent's dream come true. The Beatles come to my house. And think about, how popular I would have been with all my friends and all the jillion new friends I might have made as a result of it. So I got extremely excited about it and went to my father and asked if we could have the Beatles come. And I was dumbfounded by his response. He said that this was a time for our family to be about getting to work. We couldn't be all about, yeah. We had to be all about there's work to be done and we're about doing it. He didn't tell me not to play their records. And he didn't tell me not to dance to them. But he sure as heck said they weren't coming to the White House. Period. The end. Close subject. Thank you for coming, darling.
What do you got there, Rob?
This is a record which I bought of John for 2 shillings and sixpence. I think it must have been about 1957, 58 when he was short of money. Now this is Rock Island Line. This actually belonged to John, so this is the record which got John Lennon interested in music. If you look very closely at the centre, it's all chipped. The hole was so badly chipped that my dad had to stick a piece of plastic over it and re-drill the hole because it would skate around. And so John obviously had been plonking this on the pin of his turntable and chipped all the centre of it there. I don't know when we decided to call ourselves the Quarrymen. It was really an ironic reference to the school song.
Do you remember the song? How to sing the song?
Oh yeah, I remember the song. Do you want a bar or two of the song? Goes like this. Quarrymen, old before our birth, straining each muscle and sinew, toiling together, Mother Earth, conquered the rock that was in you. Same when the quarrying all is done, readily we'll refute 'em. We are the quarriers, school or stone, hoc ex metallo virtutum. And it goes on as another verse and a chorus and whatever.
Were you there that day at the church?
Yeah, I was, but I don't even remember seeing Paul at all. You know, the greatest moment in rock and roll history, and Rod Davis went for a pee, you know? I missed out on it.
I'm so excited. I mean, I wrote a song that Smokey Robinson sang 22 years ago, and I just can't believe I'm going to meet him again.
One of pop music's greatest singers and songwriters, John, Paul, and George have each pointed to Smokey's influence on a number of their own songs.
Smokey, You Really Got a Hold on Me comes out, I think in, 62, 63. And all of a sudden, 4 young British guys do the song. What was your reaction to it?
I first heard You Really Got a Hold on Me by the Beatles because they sent us an album to Motown, because they had actually recorded several Motown songs on that same album. Please Mr. Postman, some other stuff, you know. And boy, of course, I was flabbergasted. I was flattered. I love the fact that, see, when people record my songs, man, for me as a songwriter, that's a dream come true. You know how it is. I mean, when somebody records one of your songs, because especially the Beatles, man, they were songwriters themselves. And, you know, there are millions and millions of songs for people to choose from. They choose one of mine, I love it. You know, Seth, they were the first white act of any stature that I ever saw in my life who came out and said, hey, man, we grew up listening to black music, and we love it. That's right. And we got a lot of our feeling from black music. No white actor had ever said that before, you know, come out in the public or in the press and said anything like that. Here come the Beatles, and they say, hey, man, yeah, you know, we grew up listening to this black music. We love this, Motown. So, you know, what greater endorsement can you get?
There was one point the security guy at Abbey Road told John and I one day that, you know what, you should go up to the second floor and look out the window round about 11 o'clock and see what you see. There was these girls that used to like to get undressed and start doing exercises right in front of the window. So we're up there one day, and I think it was Paul and Ringo said, now we know where you are. And the next day, Ringo brought in the biggest pair of binoculars I've ever seen in my life so that he could get a real close-up view. Now, just if those girls knew they were being watched by 2 of the Beatles.
One of the most fun things about this project was the opportunity to interview people I had loved growing up, like Justin Hayward of the Moody Blues.
In the late 60s, I got to know through a mutual friend of mine, Donovan, and I became quite friendly with Donovan. We appeared on a few bills together, and one night he called me and said, a few friends coming over. Would you like to come over and bring a guitar and we can have a little sing-song? I'm just mad about Seth. Amongst the company was George, and the 3 of us were the guitar players, so we sat down and started playing, and we went through a few songs of Donovan's and a couple of things of Buddy Holly, which every English guitar player of my age knew. But the thing that I remember most about it was that Donovan said to George, he said, I love that song, I'm Only Sleeping. And George said, oh yeah. And he said, let's do that, let's play that, let's work that out. And George said, I don't know the chords to it. And I thought for a moment, and so I said, shall I say it? And I said, yeah, listen, I know the chords to all of that stuff, so this is how it goes. So here I am telling George, the most charming, gentle man you could ever possibly meet, how to play a song that that's been on a Beatles album.
Yeah, right. I remember that. Yeah, sure I do.
And George wasn't sure how to play it.
Because it was John's song. Yeah, I miss those get-togethers. We hope to have some more. We'll have to wait for another lifetime with George, of course.
But it was a lovely evening. It's a little bit stoned, as you would expect. A lot of girls around, a lot of very pretty people. Everybody was. It's like you're like 60s people, but a lot of girls. Always a lot of girls around.
There's nothing like the game.